The stars did not move. Space was silent, cold, and dark like it always was. But on the bridge of the Empire warship Tolgar's Wrath, nothing felt calm. Commander Vekthar Sol stood in front of the main screen, his hands behind his back. He was a tall alien with gray skin and 3 eyes that could see far into the dark of space. He had fought in 20 battles. He had destroyed pirate fleets, crushed small rebellions, and defended the Empire's borders for over 300 years. He was not a man who felt fear easily, but right now his hands were shaking. "Say that again," he said quietly. The young officer at the sensor station turned around. Her voice was shaking too. "Sir, the human ship. It just took a direct hit from our main cannon. Full power, point-blank range. And? And it's still there, sir. Still moving. Still firing back." Vekthar stared at the screen. In the middle of the black void, one small human ship floated calmly, surrounded by the burning wreckage of 10 Empire warships. 10. Not damaged. Destroyed. Gone. And the human ship did not even have a scratch on its hull. "That's impossible," Vekthar whispered. "Humans can't build warships like that." But it was there, right in front of him. He turned to his second-in-command, a shorter alien named Draxu. "Send a message to Empire Command. Tell them what we saw. Tell them we need help. Now." Draxu's eyes went wide. "Sir, if we call for a full fleet over one human ship—" "Just do it," Vekthar said, his voice sharp. "Trust me, Draxu. This is not just one ship. This is the beginning of something much bigger." The screen went black. Text appeared, 3 days earlier. To understand how the galaxy reached this moment, you must first understand 2 things: the Galactic Empire and the humans of Earth. The Galactic Empire was old, very old. It had ruled the stars for over 10,000 years. Its territory stretched across thousands of star systems. Its fleets were massive, its armies countless, and its history was written in the blood of 1,000 conquered worlds. The Empire believed in order, strict rules, strong hierarchy. Every soldier knew his place. Every officer followed his orders without question. This system had made the Empire powerful for 10,000 years. It had never lost a war. To the Empire, humans were nothing special. Just another young species. Weak. Slow. New to space travel. Earth had only joined the Galactic Trade Council 5 years ago, after first contact with a small alien trading ship near Mars. Since then, humans had been treated the way the Empire treated all new species, with polite words, but very little respect. "They still fight with fire and metal," one Empire diplomat had said in a meeting, laughing. "Give them 1,000 years, and maybe they will be useful." The other species in the room had laughed too. Humans were a joke, a footnote, nothing to worry about. But the Empire did not know one important thing about humans. Humans do not like being underestimated. Far from the Empire's grand capital, on a quiet asteroid base near the edge of human space, a woman named Captain Sarah Chen stood in front of a massive ship. Her ship, her creation, her life's work. The ship was called the UES Dawnbreaker. It did not look like much from the outside. Long, dark gray with sharp angles instead of the smooth curves that alien ships usually had. Humans had built it fast, in secret, using every trick they had learned in just 5 years of space travel. Sarah was 38 years old. She had short black hair, tired eyes, and hands that never stopped moving, always checking something, fixing something, planning something. She had lost her younger brother 2 years ago, when a group of space pirates attacked a human colony ship near the outer belt. The Empire had promised to protect that trade route. They did nothing. By the time Empire ships arrived, the colony ship was already destroyed. That day, Sarah made a promise to herself. Humanity would never again wait for someone else to protect them. "Captain," said a voice behind her. It was her chief engineer, a young man named Marcus Reyes. He looked exhausted, but proud. "Final systems check is complete. She's ready." Sarah looked up at the Dawnbreaker. 5 years of work. 5 years of humans from every country on Earth working together. Scientists, engineers, soldiers, even ordinary factory workers, all building toward one goal. Everyone still doubts us, Sarah said quietly. Not for long, Marcus replied. The idea for the Dawnbreaker began 3 years earlier, in a small meeting room in Geneva. Leaders from every human nation sat together, something that rarely happened in the old days. But the alien threat had changed things. War, pirates, and empire indifference had pushed humanity to unite as never before. We cannot outbuild the Empire, one scientist said at that first meeting. They have 10,000 years of technology. We have 100. Then we don't try to outbuild them, said another. We outthink them. That was the beginning of Project Dawnbreaker. Humans could not match alien shipbuilding experience. But humans had something the Empire had lost a long time ago: flexibility, creativity, the ability to fail, learn, and try again quickly, without waiting for permission from 10 layers of commanders. The Empire built its ships using rigid ancient designs, unchanged for 1,000 years. Every ship followed the same rulebook. Every captain followed the same tactics. It worked because it had always worked. But it also meant the Empire never truly innovated. Why fix something that always won? Humans had no such luxury. Humans had learned over thousands of years of their own history that survival meant adapting fast. It meant working together, even when you disagreed. It meant that when one idea failed, you tried 5 more the next day. So while the Empire built ships with unmatched size and firepower, humans built something different. A ship with a mind of its own. Literally, the Dawnbreaker used something called a distributed combat network. Instead of one central computer controlling everything, thousands of small processors across the ship shared information constantly, adjusting in real time. If one system failed, 10 others compensated instantly. If an enemy found a weakness, the ship's systems learned and closed that weakness within seconds. More important than the technology, however, was the crew. Every person aboard the Dawnbreaker had trained for years, not just in their own job, but in every other job on the ship. If the pilot was injured, the cook could fly. If the engineer went down, the doctor could repair the reactor. This was something the rigid Empire military never did. In the Empire, soldiers followed strict roles. A gunner was a gunner. A pilot was a pilot. Nobody crossed those lines. Humans crossed every line. That flexibility would soon shock the entire galaxy. 3 days before the battle, Sarah Chen sat in the captain's chair for the very first time. The bridge was quiet except for the soft hum of machines coming to life around her. "Systems online," said Marcus from his station. "Weapons ready," said another crew member. "Engines at standby," said the pilot, a calm woman named Aisha. Sarah took a deep breath. This was it. 5 years of secret work, sleepless nights, failed tests, and small victories, all leading to this moment. "Take us out," she said. The Dawnbreaker left its hidden shipyard and entered open space for the first time. It was meant to be a simple test flight, just a short trip to a nearby uninhabited system, to check the engines under real conditions. Nobody expected trouble. That was the plan. But space rarely follows plans. Halfway through the test flight, Aisha's console flashed red. "Captain, we've got contacts, multiple ships closing fast." Sarah leaned forward. "IDs?" "Not Empire," Marcus said, checking his screen. "Pirates, looks like. A lot of them." On the main screen, dozens of ships appeared out of the darkness, rough, mismatched vessels, clearly built from stolen and salvaged parts. Pirates. The same kind of pirates who had killed Sarah's brother 2 years ago. "They're hailing us," Aisha said. A rough alien voice crackled over the comm. "Human ship, you are in our territory. Surrender your cargo, or we destroy you." Sarah's jaw tightened. Her hand gripped the armrest of her chair. "Captain?" Marcus asked. "Orders?" Sarah looked at the swarm of pirate ships surrounding the Dawnbreaker. This was not part of the test plan. This was real. If they failed here, humanity's secret project would end in fire, and no one would ever know what humans were truly capable of. But if they succeeded, Battle stations, Sarah said calmly. Let's show them what we built. The pirates attacked first, thinking the lone human ship would be an easy kill. Dozens of weapons fired at once, lighting up the darkness with streaks of energy. The Dawnbreaker's shields absorbed the first wave without even flickering. Shields at 98%, Marcus called out, surprise clear in his voice. They barely felt that. On the pirate ships, confusion spread. Their leader, a scarred alien named Grove, snarled at his own screen. Impossible. Fire again. Full power. The pirates fired again and again. Explosions bloomed across the Dawnbreaker's shields, but the ship did not slow down. Its distributed combat network adjusted the shields in real time, spreading the impact evenly, healing weak points before they became dangerous. Return fire, Sarah ordered. Target their engines first. Disable, don't destroy if you can. The Dawnbreaker's weapons fired precise, calculated shots, not wild blasts, but exact strikes guided by thousands of tiny calculations happening every second. One pirate ship lost its engines and drifted uselessly. Then another. Then a third. Grav watched in horror as his fleet, once feared across 3 star systems, was being taken apart piece by a single small human ship. "Retreat!" he screamed. "All ships retreat!" It was too late for most of them. The battle lasted less than 10 minutes. When it ended, the space around the Dawnbreaker was filled with the drifting wreckage of the pirate fleet. Grove's own ship barely escaped, heavily damaged, fleeing into the darkness with only a handful of survivors. On the Dawnbreaker's bridge, silence fell for a moment. Then Marcus laughed, a mix of shock and relief. We actually did it. We really did it." Sarah allowed herself a small smile, but her eyes stayed serious. This was supposed to be a secret test. Now the whole sector probably heard those explosions. She was right to worry. An Empire scout ship, patrolling the edge of the same system, had detected the battle from a distance. By the time it arrived, the fight was already over. All that remained was drifting wreckage, dozens of destroyed pirate ships, and one human vessel calmly repairing minor damage as if nothing unusual had happened. The Empire scout captain, a nervous young officer named Tessic, stared at his sensors in disbelief. "Confirm this," he said to his sensor officer. "One ship did this? A human ship?" "Confirmed, sir. Sensor logs show only one active combat signature during the entire battle. The human vessel took minimal damage." Tessic's hands trembled slightly as he opened a direct channel to Empire Command. "This is Scout Vessel Ashen Wind reporting an urgent situation," he said, his voice tight. "We have discovered evidence of a human warship engaging and defeating an entire pirate fleet, alone. Ship design does not match any known human vessel in our database. Requesting immediate instructions." There was a long pause before Empire Command responded. "Scout Vessel Ashen Wind. Maintain distance and continue observation. Do not engage." Tessic swallowed hard. "Understood, Command." He looked back at his screen, at the strange, quiet human ship floating among the wreckage of a pirate fleet 3 times its size. "That's impossible," he whispered to himself. "Humans can't build warships like that." But the evidence was right in front of him. And somewhere far away in the grand halls of the Empire capital, alarms were about to start ringing. Back on the Dawnbreaker, Sarah Chen stood quietly, looking out at the stars through the main window. Marcus approached, holding a datapad. "Captain, we picked up faint sensor readings before the pirates attacked. Some kind of scout drone, watching us from a distance. It left just before the Empire ship arrived." Sarah's expression grew serious. "So they saw everything." "Looks like it." She was quiet for a long moment. 5 years of secrecy, and it had all ended in one unplanned battle. The galaxy was about to learn what humanity could do, far sooner than she had planned. "Set course for home," Sarah finally said. "It's time to tell Earth what happened, and it's time to prepare." "Prepare for what, Captain?" Sarah turned to look at him, her eyes steady despite the uncertainty ahead. "For everyone else to finally notice us," she said. and for some of them not to like what they see. Marcus nodded slowly, understanding the weight of her words. Far above them, unseen in the darkness, the ashen wind was already speeding back toward Empire space, carrying news that would soon reach the highest levels of the Galactic Empire, news that would end centuries of confidence and mark the beginning of something the galaxy had never faced before. The Empire had ruled the stars for 10,000 years, unquestioned and unchallenged. But that was about to change. The Empire capital was a planet called Kel-Thorum, a world covered almost entirely by one massive city. Towers of black stone and glowing metal rose higher than any clouds. Trillions of lights blinked across the surface, visible even from orbit. This was the heart of the Galactic Empire, the place where every important decision in the galaxy had been made for 10,000 years. At the very center of the city stood the Grand Council Chamber, a huge circular building where the Empire's highest leaders gathered. Today, that chamber was filled with noise, shouting, arguing, something that almost never happened in Empire meetings, where order and silence were sacred. At the head of the room sat Grand Marshal Kolvath Wren, the highest military leader of the entire Empire. He was old, even by alien standards. His skin was pale silver, his eyes a deep, tired blue. He had led the Empire's armies for over 400 years. He had seen empires rise and fall, species conquered and erased. Nothing usually surprised him anymore. But the report on the table in front of him had shaken even his calm. "Read it again," Kolvath said quietly. The room slowly fell silent. An officer stood and read from a data pad, his voice tight with nervous energy. Scout vessel Ashen Wind reports discovery of a human warship, designation unknown, engaging a pirate fleet of approximately 40 vessels. The human ship destroyed or disabled the entire pirate force with no visible damage to itself. Combat duration, under 10 minutes. Silence again. Then all at once the chamber erupted into arguments. "This is a trick," shouted General Draxil Morn, a large, heavily armored alien known for his short temper. "The report is exaggerated, perhaps damaged. Perhaps the pirates were already weak." "The scout sensor logs do not lie," replied Councilwoman Yessa Thorne, a calm, sharp-eyed diplomat who had studied human behavior for years. "I have reviewed the raw data myself. One ship, one human ship, defeating 40 pirate vessels without serious damage." "Impossible," Draxil said again, slamming his fist on the table. "Humans have had space travel for less than 100 years. We have had it for 10,000. There is no way their technology could match ours." "And yet," Yessa said calmly, "the evidence says it did." Grand Marshal Kolvath raised a hand and the room slowly quieted. He had not spoken yet, but everyone knew his opinion mattered more than anyone else's. "I do not believe humans have technology equal to ours," Kolvath said slowly. "Not yet. But I have studied this species for years, and I believe something else may be happening here. Something more dangerous than simple technology." "What do you mean, Grand Marshal?" Yessa asked. Kolvath's old eyes moved across the room. "Humans do not think the way we think. We build our fleets on order. Strict rules, unchanging tactics, absolute obedience. It has worked for 10,000 years because no enemy could out-organize us." He paused. "But humans do not follow one way of doing things. Their history is full of chaos, war, disagreement, and yet somehow they always adapt. They fail, and then they change. They lose, and then they learn. It is messy. It is unpredictable. And it may be exactly the kind of thing our rigid system cannot easily defeat." The room fell into an uneasy silence. Draxil scoffed, though with less confidence now. "So what do you suggest, Grand Marshal? That we panic over one lucky ship?" "No," Kolvath said firmly. "I suggest we take this seriously before it becomes something we can no longer control. Send the 9th Fleet. Find this human ship. Study it. If it truly is as powerful as this report suggests..." He paused again, his voice lower now. "Then we must understand it, before humanity becomes a threat none of us are ready for." While the Empire argued in its grand halls, far away on Earth, a very different kind of meeting was happening. In a small underground briefing room beneath the city of Geneva, Sarah Chen stood in front of a room full of exhausted, worried faces. Leaders and generals from dozens of nations, all connected by video screens from around the world. "So," said an older general from the screen, his voice heavy with concern, "your test ship engaged in unauthorized combat, and now the Empire almost certainly knows about the Dawnbreaker project." "Yes, sir," Sarah admitted. "It wasn't planned, but I don't regret protecting my crew or stopping those pirates." "Nobody is blaming you for the fight, Captain Chen," said another voice, calmer this time. The Secretary General of Earth's Unified Council, a woman named Elena Marsh. "We are simply trying to understand what happens next." Sarah took a breath. "What happens next is that the Empire will investigate. They'll want to know how a species with 100 years of space travel built something capable of destroying 40 pirate ships without damage. And when they find out the truth, they may see us as a threat," Elena finished quietly. "Or as a chance," Sarah said. "It depends on how we handle the next few days." The room was quiet for a long moment. Then General Marcus Webb, Marcus Rhea's own father and one of the founders of Project Dawnbreaker, spoke up. "We built the Dawnbreaker for one reason," he said. "To make sure humanity would never again be helpless in front of a threat we couldn't fight back against. That reason hasn't changed. If the Empire comes looking for trouble, we show them exactly what we showed those pirates." "And if they come looking for peace?" Elena asked. Marcus Webb's expression softened slightly. "Then we show them that too. But we do it from a position of strength, not weakness. Never again weakness." Sarah nodded slowly, remembering her brother, remembering the colony ship the Empire had failed to protect. "Agreed." Back aboard the Dawnbreaker, now heading toward a secure human shipyard for repairs and resupply, Sarah sat alone in her quarters, reviewing sensor data from the battle. Marcus knocked softly and entered. "Captain, you wanted to see the crew reports?" "Yes, sit." Marcus sat across from her, placing a data pad on the table. Everyone performed well. Better than well, actually. The cross-training paid off. When Ensign Cole was injured, Petty Officer Nkomo took over weapons without missing a beat. The distributed combat network adjusted power flow perfectly during the third engagement wave. Sarah nodded, but her mind was elsewhere. "Marcus, I need you to be honest with me. If the Empire sends a real fleet, not pirates, not scouts, but a real Empire battle fleet, could we survive?" Marcus hesitated. "The Dawnbreaker is strong, Captain. Stronger than anything humanity has ever built. But it's still one ship. Against a full Empire fleet, I don't know." "That's what I thought," Sarah said quietly. "But," Marcus added, "the Empire doesn't know our full capabilities yet. They saw us destroy pirates. They haven't seen everything the Dawnbreaker can really do." Sarah looked at him, curious. "What do you mean?" Marcus smiled slightly. "I mean, there are still a few surprises we haven't had to use yet." 3 days after the pirate battle deep in Empire space, the Ninth Fleet prepared for departure. It was one of the largest and most powerful fleets in the entire Empire military. 300 warships, each one massive, ancient in design, but devastating in firepower. Leading the fleet was Commander Vekthar Sol, the same officer who would later stand in shock on the bridge of the Tolgar's Wrath, watching a human ship survive an impossible hit. But that moment was still ahead of him. For now, Vekthar stood in his ready room, reviewing his orders from Grand Marshal Kolvath himself. Locate the human vessel involved in the pirate engagement. Observe. If possible, capture or disable without full destruction, for study purposes. If the vessel proves hostile or unstoppable by conventional means, destroy it immediately, at any cost. Vekthar read the final line twice. At any cost. Those words were rarely used in Empire orders. It meant Grand Marshal Kolvath truly believed this human ship could be dangerous. His second-in-command, Draxu, entered quietly. "Commander, the fleet is ready. All 300 ships report full readiness." "Good," Vecthar said, setting down the datapad. Set course for the human border systems. And Draxu? Yes, Commander? Make sure every ship's weapons and shields are at maximum efficiency. I don't care what the reports say about one lucky human ship. I want no mistakes. Draxu nodded and left. Vecthar looked out his window at the endless stars, feeling a strange, unfamiliar tension in his chest. In 300 years of service, he had never doubted the Empire's strength. Today, for the first time, a small part of him wondered if that confidence was justified. Meanwhile, in Empire space, news of the human ship began spreading, first quietly among military officers, then more widely, among diplomats and traders from other alien species who had long lived under Empire rule. In a busy trading station near the edge of Empire territory, two alien merchants from a species called the Vantori spoke quietly over drinks. You heard the rumors? One asked. About the human ship? I heard, the other said. They say it destroyed a pirate fleet without a scratch. Impossible, just Empire propaganda probably, or exaggeration. Maybe, the first merchant said, lowering his voice further. But my cousin works at the scout station near that system. He says the sensor logs are real. He says even the Empire officers were shaken. The second merchant was quiet for a moment. You know, the Empire has ruled us for 800 years, taxed us, controlled our trade routes, told us who we can and cannot do business with. If a species really did find a way to challenge them. He did not finish the sentence. He did not need to. Both of them understood the dangerous, exciting possibility hiding behind those words. Word of the human ship was no longer just an Empire secret. It was becoming something bigger. A spark of hope for species who had lived under Empire control for centuries, wondering if the ancient order of the galaxy could finally be challenged. Back on Earth, preparations moved quickly. Sarah Chen oversaw repairs to the Dawnbreaker personally, working alongside her engineering crew day and night. Every system was checked, rechecked, and improved. Marcus led a team working on something he had only hinted at before, a set of new capabilities designed specifically for large-scale Empire engagements, not just pirate skirmishes. Show me, Sarah said, standing in the engineering bay as Marcus pulled up a holographic display. It's called the Adaptive Camouflage Array, Marcus explained. It won't make us invisible, but it can bend and scatter enemy sensor readings, making it hard for them to get an accurate lock on our position and size. Combined with our distributed combat network, we can make ourselves look bigger, smaller, or completely different than we actually are, at least for a few crucial seconds during combat. Sarah's eyes lit up slightly. That could be enough to throw off their opening attack. There's more, Marcus continued. We also finished testing the overcharge cannon. It draws massive power directly from the reactor for one devastating shot. It's risky. Using it too much could damage our own systems. But if we time it right, it could destroy a capital ship in one hit, Sarah finished, understanding immediately. Marcus nodded. Exactly. On the fourth day, sensors aboard the Dawnbreaker detected something massive approaching human space. The unmistakable energy signatures of hundreds of large warships, moving in careful, disciplined formation. Captain, Aisha called from the pilot station, her voice tense. We have incoming contacts. Empire configuration. I'm reading. 300 vessels, Captain. 300. The bridge fell silent. Even after days of preparation, seeing the actual number on the screen sent a cold chill through the crew. Far above Earth, 300 Empire warships dropped out of hyperspace, their massive forms blotting out the stars as they surrounded a single, small human vessel. A vessel that, unknown to the Empire, was far more prepared for this moment than anyone in the galaxy could have imagined. Commander Vecthar Sol stared at his screen from the bridge of the Tolgar's Wrath, watching the lone human ship calmly hold its position, showing no sign of retreat, no sign of fear. Open a channel, Vecthar ordered slowly. Let's see what they have to say for themselves. On the bridge of the Dawnbreaker, nobody moved, nobody spoke. Every eye was fixed on the main screen, watching the endless rows of enemy ships take their positions. Captain, Aisha said quietly, "They're not firing." "Not yet," Sarah replied, her voice calm despite the tension in the room. "They want to talk first, or they want to scare us into surrendering." "Is it working?" Marcus asked, only half joking. Sarah allowed herself a small, tight smile. "Not a chance." A soft beep sounded from the communications station. "Captain, incoming transmission. Empire flagship, the Tolgar's Wrath." The distributed combat network activated instantly, thousands of tiny processors across the ship working together in perfect coordination. The shields flexed and shifted, redirecting incoming energy away from critical systems, spreading the impact evenly across the hull instead of absorbing it in one place. The ship shook violently. Sparks flew from a damaged console near the back of the bridge. Alarms blared, but the Dawnbreaker held together. "Shield integrity at 78%, Marcus called out over the noise. "We took a hit, Captain, but we're still here." "Return fire," Sarah ordered. "Target their closest ships. Aisha, get us moving. Don't stay still." Aisha's hands flew across her controls, and the Dawnbreaker surged forward, weaving between the massive Empire warships with surprising speed and precision. The human ship's weapons fired in quick, calculated bursts, each shot aimed with pinpoint accuracy at critical systems: engines, weapon batteries, shield generators. One Empire cruiser lost power to its main cannon. Another began venting atmosphere from a hull breach. A third staggered as its engines flared out completely, leaving it drifting helplessly among its allies. On the Tolgar's Wrath, Vekthar watched in growing disbelief as his officers called out damage reports from across the fleet. "Sir, the Kethrim's blade has lost primary weapons." The Iron Sentinel reports engine failure. Multiple ships report shield generator damage. "How is this possible?" Vekthar snapped. "It's one ship against 300. "Sir," an officer said hesitantly, "the human vessel's movement patterns are unusual. It's not following any tactical doctrine in our database. It's almost as if every shot is being aimed individually, with no fixed pattern at all." Vekthar's mind raced, trying to understand. The Empire's own ships fought using coordinated centralized command, every vessel following orders from a single tactical computer, moving and firing in predictable, disciplined patterns. It was a system built on 10,000 years of tradition, unmatched in its consistency and control. But the Dawnbreaker was doing something completely different. It was adapting, moment by moment, learning from every attack, every counterattack, adjusting its tactics faster than the Empire's rigid systems could predict or respond to. On the bridge of the Dawnbreaker, the battle raged on. Sweat dripped down Marcus's forehead as he monitored dozens of shifting variables at once, but his voice remained steady. "Captain, shield integrity holding at 65%. We've disabled 12 enemy vessels so far." "Keep it up," Sarah said, watching the tactical display closely. Despite the chaos, despite the overwhelming numbers against them, the Dawnbreaker was holding its own, not through brute strength but through speed, precision, and the sheer unpredictability of human tactics. Still, Sarah knew this could not last forever. 300 ships, even disorganized and confused, still had overwhelming firepower. Eventually, sheer numbers would find a way through. "Marcus," she said quietly, "how long until the overcharge cannon is ready?" Marcus checked his console. "Another 2 minutes, Captain. It needs to draw enough power from the reactor." "We might not have 2 minutes." As if to prove her point, a massive Empire dreadnought, larger than the others, bristling with heavy weapons, broke formation and began closing in directly toward the Dawnbreaker, ignoring the chaos around it. "Captain, that's the Emperor's fist," Marcus said, his voice tight. "Empire flagship-class dreadnought. Its weapons alone could—" "I see it," Sarah said, cutting him off. "Aisha, evasive maneuvers now." Aisha pulled the Dawnbreaker into a sharp turn, narrowly avoiding a massive energy blast that tore through the space where the ship had been moments before. The dreadnought's weapons were far more powerful than the smaller cruisers surrounding it. A single direct hit could be catastrophic. "It's turning again, tracking us," Aisha shouted. "Overcharge cannon status," Sarah demanded. 90% charged, Marcus called back. Almost there. The Emperor's fist fired again, a massive beam of pure energy cutting through space toward the Dawnbreaker. Aisha barely managed to dodge, the shockwave from the near miss rattling the entire ship. Shields at 40%, Marcus shouted, alarm clear in his voice now. Overcharge cannon, Sarah demanded again. Ready, Captain. Sarah's eyes locked onto the massive dreadnought bearing down on them. Fire! The Dawnbreaker's reactor surged, channeling every available bit of power into a single devastating shot. A brilliant beam of concentrated energy tore across space, striking the Emperor's fist directly in its main reactor core. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the massive dreadnought's hull cracked open from within, a brilliant explosion tearing the ship apart from the inside out. In seconds, the largest, most powerful ship in the Empire's 9th Fleet was reduced to burning wreckage scattering across the battlefield. Silence fell across every channel in the Empire fleet. On the Tolgar's wrath, Vecthar stared at his screen in absolute shock. The Emperor's Fist, a ship that had survived a dozen wars, that had crushed rebellions across 100 worlds, destroyed in a single hit by one small human vessel. That's impossible, he whispered, echoing the same words that had haunted him since this crisis began. Humans can't build warships like that. But it had happened. Right in front of his eyes, Draxu approached slowly, his voice shaking slightly. Commander, several ship captains are requesting permission to retreat. Morale is breaking down across the fleet. Vekthar's mind raced through his options. Continue the attack and risk losing even more ships to this unpredictable human vessel, or retreat and admit defeat against a single enemy craft, a humiliation that would echo across the entire Empire. Before he could decide, another officer called out urgently. Commander, new contacts detected approaching from human space. Multiple signatures. Looks like reinforcements. Vekthar's eyes widened. How many? Unknown, sir. Sensors are having difficulty getting an accurate count, similar to the interference we've seen from the primary target. This was the final piece of uncertainty Vekthar could not ignore. An unknown number of human reinforcements on top of a single ship that had already destroyed his flagship-class dreadnought and disabled a dozen other vessels. The math no longer favored the Empire, not with morale already shattering across his fleet. All ships, Vekthar said finally, his voice heavy with the weight of an unprecedented decision. Retreat, full withdrawal, immediately. Commander, are you certain? Draxu asked carefully. Vekthar looked at the tactical display one final time, his once proud fleet, now scattered and damaged, retreating from a single human vessel that continued to hold its ground, unbroken and unbowed. I am certain of one thing, Draxu, Vekthar said quietly. We came here believing humans were primitive and we were wrong. Very wrong. Send the retreat order. We will return to the Empire with the truth, whether High Command wishes to hear it or not. Across the battlefield, the remaining Empire warships began pulling back, their formation broken, their confidence shattered. What had begun as a simple mission to investigate a curious anomaly had ended in the greatest tactical embarrassment the Empire had suffered in centuries. Aboard the Dawnbreaker, the bridge crew watched in stunned silence as the massive Empire fleet began retreating into the darkness of space. Captain, Marcus said slowly, disbelief clear in his voice. They're actually retreating. Sarah allowed herself to finally breathe, the tension of the battle slowly draining from her shoulders. Confirm status of our own reinforcements. Aisha checked her console and let out a small, relieved laugh. Captain, there are no reinforcements. That was the camouflage array. We projected false sensor readings to make it look like more ships were approaching. Sarah blinked in surprise, then smiled. A real, genuine smile for the first time since the battle began. Marcus, remind me to thank whoever came up with that idea. That would be me, Captain, Marcus said, grinning despite his exhaustion. Sarah shook her head, both proud and amazed. Casualty report? No serious injuries aboard the Dawnbreaker, Marcus reported, checking his datapad. Some minor damage to secondary systems, but nothing critical. We held together. Sarah looked out at the drifting wreckage of the Emperor's fist, and beyond it, the retreating remains of what had once been an overwhelming Empire fleet. One ship, one small human vessel, built by a species the Empire had dismissed as primitive and weak, had just forced the retreat of 300 warships from one of the most powerful militaries in galactic history. "Contact Earth Command," Sarah said quietly, her voice filled with quiet determination rather than triumph. "Tell them the Empire fleet has retreated. Tell them humanity just wrote the first page of a new chapter in galactic history." Far above, in the silent darkness of space, the Dawnbreaker remained steady and unbroken, a small symbol of a young species that refused to be underestimated any longer. A species about to send shockwaves through every corner of the Galactic Empire. News of the Ninth Fleet's retreat reached Kel Thorum within hours, carried by a fast courier ship sent ahead of Commander Vekthar's battered fleet. By the time the message reached the Grand Council chamber, it had already begun spreading through the lower levels of Empire Command, whispered between officers, repeated in shocked disbelief, growing more dramatic with every retelling. Grand Marshal Kolvath Wren stood alone in his private office when the official report arrived. He read it once, then again. His old, tired eyes stayed fixed on the words for a long moment before he finally set the datapad down on his desk. 300 warships. One human vessel. The Emperor's fist destroyed. 12 other ships disabled. A full, humiliating retreat. Kolvath had feared something like this might happen. He had warned the council, but even he had not truly believed the numbers would be this bad. A soft chime announced a visitor. Councilwoman Yessa Thorne entered without waiting for permission, her expression unusually grave. "You've seen the report," she said. "I have. The council is in an uproar, Grand Marshal. General Draxel is demanding an immediate Second Fleet be sent twice the size of the first. Others are saying we should offer the humans a formal apology and open diplomatic talks instead. Nobody agrees on anything." Kolvath sighed a deep, ancient sound. "That is because nobody understands what we are truly facing, Yessa. This is not simply about one powerful ship. This is about an entire species that thinks differently than we do, differently than any species we have ever encountered." "What do you mean?" Kolvath rose slowly from his chair and walked to the window, looking out over the endless towers of Kel Thorum. "For 10,000 years the Empire has won through order, strict hierarchy, unchanging tradition. Every soldier knows his place. Every fleet follows the same doctrine, generation after generation. It has never failed us because no enemy could out-organize us." He turned back to face her. "But humans do not fight with order alone. They fight with adaptability, creativity, and something else. Something I have struggled to fully understand until now. They fight with unity born from vulnerability. They know they are the underdogs. And instead of that fact weakening them, it makes them stronger, more determined, more willing to work together despite their differences." Yessa considered this carefully. "So, what do you propose we do, Grand Marshal?" Kolvath was quiet for a long moment. "I do not know yet. But I know sending another fleet to simply overpower them by numbers will likely end the same way. Or worse. We need to understand them, not just fight them." The Grand Council chamber was filled to capacity when the emergency session began. Every major Empire official, general, and diplomat had gathered, along with representatives from several allied and subject species, Vantori traders, Kathrani scholars, and even a small delegation of Ovarn diplomats, all eager to hear how the mighty Empire would respond to this unprecedented humiliation. General Draxel Morn stood first, his voice loud and forceful as always. "This is simple. The humans got lucky with clever tricks and unfamiliar technology. We send the 12th and 15th fleets together. 600 ships. No mercy this time. We erase this threat before it grows any further." Several officials nodded in agreement, but Yessa rose immediately in response. "And if 600 ships fail, as 300 did? Do we send 1,000 next? 2,000? At what point does our pride cost us more than we can afford to lose?" "Our pride is not the issue," Draxel snapped. "Our safety is the issue. If word spreads that a single human ship defeated an Empire fleet, Do you understand what that means? Every subject species under Empire rule will start asking questions. Every rebellion we have crushed over the centuries will look at this as inspiration. A quiet murmur spread through the chamber. Draxil was not wrong. Already, whispers of the battle were spreading far beyond military channels, reaching trade stations, colony worlds, and independent systems across Empire space. Grand Marshal Kolvath finally rose, and the chamber fell silent out of long habit and respect. General Draxil raises a valid concern. But rushing into a larger, more devastating conflict without understanding our enemy is not wisdom. It is desperation. And desperation has never served the Empire well. He looked around the chamber slowly. I propose a different approach. We open formal diplomatic contact with Earth's leadership. We learn who they truly are, what they truly want, and what they are truly capable of. Before we commit to a war, none of us may survive unchanged. Diplomacy? Draxil scoffed. After they destroyed one of our flagship dreadnoughts? After we surrounded a single defenseless vessel with 300 warships and opened fire without provocation? Yessa corrected sharply. Let us not forget who attacked whom, General. The chamber erupted into arguments once again, voices rising over one another in the grand ancient hall. For the first time in centuries, the Galactic Empire found itself with no clear, unified path forward, uncertain, divided, and, for many in that room, quietly afraid. News of the battle spread far beyond the Empire's own borders as well, carried through trade networks and communication relays across dozens of alien civilizations. On a distant world called Threna, home to a peaceful species long oppressed under harsh Empire taxation and control, an elder named Vashi gathered with other community leaders around a small holographic display, watching a grainy recording of the battle recovered from a passing trade ship's sensors. They truly did this? One younger Threna asked, disbelief evident in her voice. One ship against 300? So it seems, Vashi said quietly, watching the recording of the Emperor's fist being torn apart. For 800 years, we have been told the Empire cannot be challenged, that resistance is pointless, that we must simply accept our place. And now? The younger Threna asked. Vashi's eyes lingered on the image of the small, defiant human vessel standing its ground against overwhelming odds. Now, perhaps, some of us will begin to wonder if that has always been a lie. Similar conversations were happening across dozens of worlds, in trade stations, colony outposts, and quiet corners of Empire territory long resigned to their fate. The humans had not intended to start a revolution. They had simply defended themselves. But in doing so, they had planted a seed of doubt in the minds of countless species who had never before dared to question the Empire's absolute authority. Back on Earth, in the underground briefing room beneath Geneva, Sarah Chen stood once again in front of the assembled leaders of humanity, this time with a very different energy in the room. Where there had once been anxious uncertainty, there was now a cautious, guarded confidence. The Empire fleet has fully withdrawn from our border systems, Sarah reported. Long-range sensors show no further military movement toward Earth space at this time. For now, General Marcus Webb added grimly. We should not assume this is over, Captain Chen. A wounded predator is often more dangerous, not less. Agreed, Sarah said, which is why I recommend we begin preparing additional Dawnbreaker-class vessels immediately. If the Empire returns with a larger force, one ship may not be enough next time. Secretary General Elena Marsh leaned forward. And if the Empire chooses diplomacy instead of war? Sarah considered this carefully. Then we should be ready for that as well. We didn't build the Dawnbreaker to start a war, Secretary General. We built it so that we would never again be powerless to defend ourselves. If the Empire wants peace, genuine peace based on mutual respect rather than one-sided control, we should welcome that conversation. Elena nodded slowly. And if they don't? Sarah's eyes hardened slightly, remembering her brother, remembering years of being dismissed and underestimated. Then they'll learn very clearly that humanity is no longer a species anyone can afford to ignore. 3 weeks after the battle, an Empire diplomatic vessel, small, unarmed, flying a formal flag of peaceful intent, approached Earth's outer defense perimeter. Aboard it was Councilwoman Yessa Thorne herself, sent personally by Grand Marshal Kolvath to open the first official contact between humanity and the Galactic Empire's highest leadership. Sarah Chen, alongside Secretary General Elena Marsh, greeted the Empire delegation aboard a neutral space station near Earth's orbit. The room was tense as the two very different species finally stood face to face, not as enemies locked in battle, but as potential equals meeting for the first time on genuinely uncertain footing. "Captain Chen," Yessa said formally, offering a respectful nod, "the Empire wishes to express its reconsideration regarding recent events. Commander Vekthar Sol's fleet engaged your vessel under a mistaken assessment of hostile intent." Sarah studied the alien diplomat carefully. "Your fleet fired first, Councilwoman, after surrounding a lone vessel with 300 warships. That doesn't sound like a mistaken assessment. That sounds like an attempt at intimidation that failed." Yessa's expression flickered slightly, an alien approximation of discomfort. "I will not insult you by denying the truth, Captain Chen. The Empire underestimated humanity, both your capabilities and your resolve. This is an unfamiliar position for us." "It's a familiar one for us," Sarah replied evenly. "Humanity has spent its entire history being underestimated by someone. We're used to proving people wrong." A brief, tense silence passed between them before Elena Marsh stepped forward, softening the tone slightly. "Councilwoman Thorne, humanity has no desire for war with the Galactic Empire. We simply wish to be treated as equals. A species capable of defending itself, deserving of respect, not dismissal." Yessa considered this for a long moment. "The Empire has ruled the stars for 10,000 years, Secretary General. We have never needed to consider any species as a true equal before." "Perhaps," Sarah said quietly, "it's time that changed." The negotiations that followed were long, difficult, and far from perfect. Old habits of Empire superiority clashed repeatedly with humanity's newfound confidence and refusal to be treated as lesser. But slowly, carefully, a fragile framework of mutual respect began to take shape. Not a full alliance, not yet, but an agreement to formal diplomatic relations, trade discussions, and most importantly, a mutual commitment to avoid further armed conflict. It was not peace built on friendship. It was peace built on respect, earned through strength, determination, and the refusal to back down when it mattered most. Months later, Sarah Chen stood once again on the bridge of the Dawnbreaker, now one of 5 human warships patrolling the border between Earth space and Empire territory. Marcus stood beside her, watching the quiet stars stretch out before them. "Strange, isn't it?" Marcus said thoughtfully. "A year ago we were a footnote, a species barely worth the Empire's attention. Now we're sitting across the table from their highest council." Sarah allowed herself a small, satisfied smile. "They thought we were behind, Marcus. Primitive. Weak. They measured us by how long we've had space travel, not by what we're truly capable of." And now, Sarah looked out at the endless stars, thinking of her brother, of the years of secret work, of every person who had refused to give up when the odds seemed impossible. "Now they know the truth," she said quietly. "We were never behind. We were just getting started, far beyond the Dawnbreaker's hull, deep within Empire territory." Whispers of change continued to spread across dozens of worlds, species long oppressed beginning to question centuries of accepted rule, ambitious Empire officials beginning to see opportunity in shifting alliances, and cautious voices within the Grand Council, quietly wondering what other surprises humanity might still be hiding. On Kel Thorum, Grand Marshal Kolvath Wren stood once again at his window, watching the endless lights of the Empire capital stretch out before him. A messenger entered quietly, carrying a new report, this one not about humans, but about a distant, unexplored region of space where strange, powerful energy readings had recently been detected. Readings unlike anything the Empire had encountered in 10,000 years of exploration. Kolvath read the report slowly, his ancient eyes narrowing with a mixture of concern and curiosity. "Perhaps," he murmured quietly to himself, The humans were never truly our greatest problem after all. Somewhere in the vast, silent darkness beyond the known stars, something ancient and unknown was stirring, a mystery that would soon draw humanity, the Galactic Empire, and countless other species into a much larger, much more dangerous chapter of galactic history. But that, as they say, is a story for another day.